This is part 2 of the video for the April bracelet design. The base of the toggle is going to be flat, even count peyote stitch and zipped up to create the cylinder. So I'm taking 1 yard of the spider wire and I'm using a stop bead to begin the peyote stitch, and I'm putting it about halfway through the thread. So there's the stop bead, and then the ends of the thread are down here, and I'm going to secure the stop bead about midway through. And what I'm going to do is, after creating the flat even count peyote and zipping it, I'm going to use the ends of the thread to attach to the bracelet. So that's why it's going to be extra long. So I've got the stop bead about halfway through the thread. I'm going to go through it 2 times to make sure it's secure. And then after I get the peyote started, I'll remove the stop bead. I'll start out with 10 of the rocales. And bring them down to rest against the stop bead. And then I'll begin my peyote stitch, and just like I did on the circular, skip the top one and go in the second one. The first 3 rows are the hardest, but once you get it established, it works up pretty quickly. And remember to only go through 1 bead, and keep the tension as tight as you can, and that will help you get a good smooth start. I've worked up several rows and removed my stop bead. I'm going to continue until I have 6 rows across at the narrowest point, and then I'll zip it shut. Now I've got 6 rows across at the most narrow point, and I am going to work to zip it together. And you can see that the first row here doesn't have the bead sticking out, but the top row does. So when you bring it up, you just stitch through the beads, zipping it together, much like a zipper. And I'm going to come over here and get the bead that's on top on the left side, and then come back through the top bead, the next one on the right side. And you can see as I zip it together or go through, the top beads on either side is pulling it together to create a tube. So I'll finish doing that. I have finished zipping it together, and there are both of the threads at the same end. I'm going to work this thread back through, so I have 1 thread coming out this end and 1 thread coming out this end, so that I can attach the crystals and the drop beads. I've worked my end of the thread with the needle through, so it's coming out a top bead on this row on this end, and the other thread is still here, and I've attached a needle to this one and to this one. So now I'm going to attach the crystal and drop bead on each end, and then work my way through to the middle, and both threads are going to come through to the middle, and then I'm going to begin to attach the beads to attach it to the other end of the bracelet. So now you can see the thread is coming directly out of the hollow on both ends. Now I'm going to attach the first crystal, and then I'm going to attach the drop bead, and I'm going to come back through the crystal but not the drop bead, and then and pull on the tension to set the crystal and the drop bead. Now I'm going to take the thread that I came out of the hollow and start to work my way down through the beads to the middle. I've worked both threads through to the middle to where they come out right here next to each other so that I can begin to add beads to attach this to the other end of the bracelet. Now, with both threads on one needle, I am going to string 5 of the rocales and bring them to rest against the toggle. And I'm going to take the threads off of this needle and put them each on their own separate needle again. I am going to add 4 of the rocales on each needle, and this is a reverse of what we did on the other end, and this is to create the V that will set on either side of the leading crystal but not touch it, to allow us to attach the toggle end of the clasp. Okay. And then once I get those on there, I'll go through the top crystal one way with the needle, and then with the other needle I'll go through the top crystal in the opposite direction and start working my way back using the right angle weave that we used to create the bracelet to begin with. There. And then when I get about halfway down, I'll do it a little further this time because this thread is new and being added with the toggle. It's not something that was continuous in the bracelet. So I'll work about halfway down and then I'll tie it off like I did the first one, and then the bracelet will be done. Here is the gold Duracoat Rocale version of the bracelet for April.